Most people think climate change is just about our planet getting warmer. But what if I told you it is also deepening inequalities, especially for women and girls? The climate crisis isn't just about rising temperatures. It is rising inequality. When floods strike, when droughts hit, when jobs disappear, women are disproportionately impacted. And tonight, we'll see how damaging this can be. According to the UN Women Gender Snapshot of 2024, by 2050, more than 158 million women could be pushed into extreme poverty, and another 236 million into food insecurity due to climate change. I'm fortunate. I'm not a direct victim of either of these issues. But over time, I've become sensitized to the topic, attending global forums at the United Nations, contributing to powerful campaigns on women in Afghanistan, writing articles, and conducting research. When disasters strike, women and children are 14 times more likely than men to die. Let me use a real example on that. Out of the 230,000 people that died in the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004, 70% were women. Because many women didn't know how to swim, as simply as that. Many others couldn't leave their house without a male relative's permission. Or others, again, were not warned in time due to the technological gap. So, climate change is not gender neutral. It amplifies already existing inequalities, worsening socio-political issues in already vulnerable communities. This is why looking at a single phenomenon in isolation, in the complex web that is our reality, could be potentially dangerous. And here comes an essential concept: intersectionality. Coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, intersectionality describes how gender, class, nationality, even language or education, and other aspects of a person's identities overlap and interact. And this can shape how people experience inequalities in different ways. So, another concept that resonated with me while at the UN is privilege. The privilege to walk into those corridors, and the economical privilege, of course, and to belong to the larger community that nowadays can speak about climate change, can debate it, can even act on it. So tonight, I'm here to raise awareness and to make the most of my privilege, raising awareness on those women and girls that are at the front line of the climate crisis. But let's ground ourselves into facts. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change defines climate change as a change in the state of the climate, which kind of self-explanatory so far. But it is identifiable by statistical shifts that persist for decades or more. It is the long-term warming of our Earth. And human activities like burning fossil fuels release gases into the atmosphere that trap heat, like a sort of blanket around the Earth. With climate change, other two definitions are worth and very important mentioning. Gender equality. According to UN Women, it means equal rights, opportunities, and also responsibilities for all, regardless of their gender. And yet, an ongoing pandemic, gender-based violence. It refers to harmful acts directed to an individual or a group because of their gender. 1 in 3 women will experience gender-based violence worldwide. According to the World Health Organization 2021 report, it is nearly 1 billion women worldwide. So, climate change acts as a threat multiplier. It is not only environmental, it escalates already existing problems. Displacement, poverty, resource scarcity create the conditions for violence, trafficking, and exploitation to happen on women and girls. Why? Because women form the larger part of the world's poor, and they are highly dependent on land and other natural resources like water. Oxfam put it bluntly: when resources are scarce, women become the resource. And that's why climate change, again, does not create inequality itself. It amplifies already existing ones. Because the same storm doesn't hit everyone equally. We speak about correlation in this sense. And Afghanistan makes it painfully clear. Now, in Afghanistan, women form the larger majority of agricultural workers, especially in rural subsistence farming. Now, imagine a woman in rural Afghanistan. Each day, she sees her crops die, her livestock weaken as rain fail. But she still has to provide for her family. So she sells the little she owns, knowing that the following day it could all be dry, or maybe floods can wash away her home. According to the International Federation of the Red Cross, the April-May 2024 floods affected over 280,000 people, damaging or even destroying more than 40,000 homes. But women in Afghanistan do not have access to recovery plans. They do not have a voice in the restructural process. And displacement, again, brings risks of violence, trafficking, and even early marriage. There is something called the bride price. So when there's famine in rural provinces, many families marry off their youngest daughters in exchange for money. And this happens in a country where education and basic human rights are already denied. Limited access to information, to credit, digital education. Many women cannot even own a personal mobile phone. Adaptation is almost impossible. And this is exactly intersectionality into practice. When climate shocks meet already existing and structured inequality, it is never just about the weather. Another example that came to my mind is Southern Africa. During my time at the Italian Chamber of Commerce in South Africa, I had the chance to contribute to a study showing that women own less than 20% of farmland, but yet they have to provide food, water, and family resources, sometimes working under extreme temperatures outside, which in pregnant women, in every degree more, increases the risk of preterm birth by 4%, and hospitals can be hours away. South Africa is also largely water scarce, so women have to walk long hours to fetch water, sometimes in poorly lit or maybe completely dark, roadless areas, increasing the risk of gender-based violence. But let's take a look closer to home, Europe. The summer of 2022 was the hottest on record in Europe. According to the Nature Medicine study, in Italy alone, 18,000 people died because of the heat. And the same study found that 63% of heat-related deaths were women, more women than men. This is exactly how gender, climate, and health intersect and interact. On a global level, more than 130 global studies found that 68% of cases show women facing stronger health impacts. And, for example, in Bangladesh and the Philippines, more women died because of cyclones. And this is not due to biology. This is not biological vulnerability. This is social inequality. Lower access to mobility, poor access to warnings due to the technological gap, or even rooted cultural norms that hampered social empowerment and delayed evacuation. But what about the legal perspective, international legal perspective on that? In 2022, the UN General Assembly recognized the right for a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment for everyone. But while the Paris Agreement as well calls for gender-responsive climate policies, we have a huge paradox. According to the UN Development Programme, while 96% of national climate plans mention gender, only 27% actually ensure a seat at the decision-making table for women. I am a volunteer for the Italian Red Cross, and over time I've seen humanitarian shelters being overcrowded and heightening the risk of gender-based violence, abuse, and harassment on women. Because even basic dignity can become fragile in these kind of situations. No access to sanitary products can make menstruation a monthly struggle. The lack of doors in toilets, let's think about privacy. And sometimes mixed-washed areas increasing the risk for them of gender-based violence. But here's the point. Every time we talk about women only as victims of climate, we reinforce the idea of seeing them invisible as solutions, while they are agents of resilience. There are many examples, several examples of women leading on the climate action around the world. In indigenous women-led communities, women that take care and look after the forests, deforestation is 60% lower. In Kenya, women lead on reforestation. Wangari Maathai started with 7 women, telling them, until you dig a hole, plant a tree, water it, and make it survive, you haven't done anything. You have just talked. Her Green Belt movement planted over 51 million trees in Kenya and employed 30,000 women, making her winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Women in Bolivia lead on biodiversity conservation. Women in Afghanistan developed small-scale business practices to reduce waste. So here we are. The planet is warming. But before that, inclusion is key. So on this point, legal inclusion, ensuring gender-responsive climate policies, financial inclusion. Nowadays, only 3% of climate finance goes to women-led initiatives. And finally, educational inclusion. According to UNESCO, every year of schooling boosts community resilience. So again, here's the point. The planet is warming. Somewhere, a girl is deciding whether it's worth going to school or walking hours to fetch water and provide for her family. But I would like to change the way you look at this image. I would like you to see her as the forest guardian, as the tree planter, as the solution for our community. It is then fundamental to ensure women's participation and leadership, to support social protection systems, and ensuring representation in global forums. This is my echo. At the end of this panel, I would like you to go and tell to 3 people, did you know that the climate crisis hits 14 times more women than men? When you attend a panel on climate change with only men, ask, where are the women here? As the Brazilian First Lady said at COP30, every advancement in gender equality brings us closer to a world capable of overcoming the climate crisis. Because when women lead, solutions are not only inclusive, they are effective and fairer. Thank you.